You what documents you need to add to your loop when you're working with a buyer that has been pre-approved for an FHA loan. Now you're ready to submit an offer for this buyer and you need to add the documents. So the first set of documents that you're going to add are the documents that need to be signed by the buyer first, and that you need to fill up these documents. So you go into your loop. You at this point should have created the loop with the information of the property and all the people that will be involved in this transaction. So now you're just adding the documents. So you go into the template section and select the Court Master Documents folder. There is 3 main documents you're going to add. Number 1 is the as-is contract. That is your number 1 document always. This is also what is called the offer. You select on the checkbox. Go back to the search bar and type FHA. And now you select the FHA VA addendum. Always needed for FHA loans. Select on it. Go back to the search bar and do disclosure. Now you're going to select the La Rosa disclosure buyer. This is only for in-house purposes. You don't need to send this to the listing agent. You just need your buyer to sign it and you keep it. You will submit it later on to the La Rosa office. So now you just copy, and the 3 files that you just selected will be copied into your loop. Now, on the other side, we need documents that have been signed by the seller first. These documents we will find on the MLS. We first look at the property and we determine what properties need to be signed by the seller first based on what we see. Number 1, the seller's property disclosure. We will always and forever need that document no matter what type of loan our buyer has, no matter what type of property. The seller needs to disclose what has been done to the property if there have been any issues, and that is done by the seller's property disclosure document or the non-occupancy seller's property disclosure. That document states that the seller has not lived in the property. So that document always needs to be provided by the listing agent and signed by the seller first. Now, we look at the year the house was built. It was built in 1955, meaning that we need the lead-based paint disclosure because this house was built before 1978. Also needs to be signed by the seller first, provided to us by the listing agent. Now, the other thing that we need to look at is if the house has HOA. If the house has HOA, we will see it right here in the community information, and it will tell us how often that HOA payment is done and what is the fee for the HOA. We see nothing here, so this house has no HOA. Therefore, we don't need an HOA addendum signed by the seller. If it had HOA fees, then we will need that HOA addendum provided to us by the listing agent and signed by the seller first. Okay, so now where do I see? I know that at this point I need 2 documents. I need the seller's property disclosure, needed always, and the lead-based paint addendum. Why? Because the house was built before 1978. If it was built after 1978, I would not need this addendum. So you would just ignore that document completely. So now I will go to this little clip here and see what addendums have been attached to this MLS. If there's no clip, it means that no addendums have been attached to the MLS. In case there's no addendums attached, you don't need these addendums to submit an offer. To submit an offer, you will only need the as-is contract and the FHA VA. And once the offer is accepted and signed by the seller, then you will have to request the listing agent to provide these documents as soon as possible. In this case, they have done their job and the documents are here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on each and every one of the documents and download it. It downloads automatically into my computer. This one is just utility information, so I don't need that document. Okay, so now I have these 3 documents downloaded into my computer. I know that all the downloads go into one folder called downloads, but that's my computer. You have to verify on yours. So now I go back into the loop and I add documents. Please make sure you read through these documents that you have downloaded. Make sure that they're signed by the seller before you make your buyer sign them. and that the information that is in those documents is correct. All right, so now I add documents and I'm going to browse. No templates, because the templates are only the contracts that are in the loop. Now I'm going to browse directly in my computer. So I know that the last 3 documents that were downloaded are the ones that came from the MLS. So I select 3 and I open the 3 of them. So now they upload into the loop and they're ready to be filled up and signed by the buyer.